what's better than video games and anime? How about a video game that is also an anime? Introducing Tengai Makyou. Tengai what, you say? Tengai Makyou. It's a Japanese-only RPG series that was never imported to the West, but during its peak runtime in the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, it had a popularity that rivaled Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. Yeah, it was that big of a deal. It was a PC Engine game, which is not a personal computer, but a game console, known as the TurboGrafx 16 in North America, and it was made by Hudson Soft. You know, the folks that made Bomberman and Mario Party. Well, apparently in addition to party games, they made RPGs, and damn good ones at that. Oh, and did I mention, the soundtrack was done by Joe Hisaishi of Studio Ghibli fame. Even if the game ends up sucking, and trust me, it doesn't, you know your ears are in for a treat with whatever soundtrack Joe Hisaishi ends up touching. Tengai Makyou II, Manji Maru, was arguably the peak of the series, with a memorable cast of characters and its own unique sense of humor. It didn't take itself too seriously, but it got serious when it wanted to and had some pretty emotionally gripping moments. Out of all the characters in the game, one character always stood out to me, and that character was Kinu. Kinu, which means silk in Japanese, is introduced to us as a soft-spoken character dressed in royal-looking garments. She vowed that she would never attack or hurt anyone, swearing on her parents' graves. So the player is then tasked to help her find her chains for her bracelet, so she can restrain herself. But it begs the player to ponder. Why does she restrain herself? What's the story behind this pacifism? Her theme begins with a major 7 chord, which gives her an elegant, princess-like presence, fitting for her name. After that, we quickly shift down to a minor 7 chord, giving us a hint of sadness. Then we go back to a major 7 chord again, but this time in another key. This is a special kind of key change known as planing, not planning. It's not like an airplane, but it's more like a geometric plane, where we shift from one axis to another. That's the idea here, except after the major 7 chord, we don't go back to a minor 7 chord again. We instead go to a half-diminished chord, otherwise known as the minor 7 flat 5. This special chord is the darkest chord in music theory. It represents the thought of looking deep within your soul for answers. This gives us a hint of what's to come, that Kinu's story is not a happy story, but a tragic tale. We later find out the truth in an absolutely brutal cutscene where she loses control and goes full demon mode, tearing her target's body apart limb from limb. It's kind of like Mira Jane's takeover from Fairy Tail, but at least Mira Jane still has restraint and control when she transforms into her demon form. However, Kinu loses all control when she lets her emotions take over. This was actually cleverly foreshadowed by her name. Kinu means silk, which represents her surface-level elegance. However, using Gikun, which is an irregular kanji reading where pronunciation is assigned semantically or poetically rather than following typical onyomi and kunyomi rules. It's essentially an artificial pronunciation for stylistic depth. We can actually pronounce Kinu with the demon Ki, which is the onyomi for this kanji, and anger, which is represented by Nu, which is the kunyomi for this kanji. Hence her name reflects her dual nature. Elegant at first glance, but harboring a fierce demon inside upon closer inspection. After one of the most brutal killings in video game history, Kinu is wrought with guilt, as she couldn't control her urge to kill when she attacked her enemy. The protagonist, Manji Maru, comforts her, slowly helping her gain back her confidence and will to live, despite knowing what she is capable of. While all she could see was her demonic nature, he saw her for her true self. Without judgment, he accepted her for who she was. Finally, we get into the meat and potatoes of the song, and play the fabled minor add 9 chord. Coupled with a variant of the Aeolian cadence, a classic cadence used to give you the feels, this is just full-blown sadness right now. The tears are flowing, and they can't stop. After this, we come across a musical conundrum. This A major chord functions as the flat 6 in C sharp minor, but here it behaves like the 4 chord in E major, suggesting a temporary tonal shift. The piece never fully commits, hovering between minor and major tonal centers. It's just like Kinu herself, being the silk that can be woven in any direction, graceful and elegant for one moment, unraveling into a chaotic demon wrath the next. In the epilogue, Kinu's parents are resurrected from the dead, and we are introduced to Kinu's father, who is an Oni, which is a demon in Japanese culture. She says he may look intimidating, but deep down, he has a gentle soul. Man, they just don't write stories like this anymore. So there you have it. There's Kinu's theme, a tragic girl who is half human and half demon, but could only see herself as a demon, and needed to find her humanity again, making her the most tragic character in video game history. Sure, Aerith from Final Fantasy VII broke hearts in an instant, but Kinu? Her story slowly eats at you. Her guilt over her uncontrollable power, her constant struggle for self-acceptance, to find her humanity despite the demonic forces that lie within. It's the kind of tragedy that lingers with you long after the credits roll. In the end, Kinu's theme isn't just about tragedy. It's about struggle, guilt, and finding a place for the parts of ourselves that we're afraid of. She sees herself as a demon, yet through her journey, she learns to accept who she is, demons and all. And maybe that's what makes her story hit so hard. It reminds us that even our darkest sides don't make us monsters. We can acknowledge them, embrace them, and still find our humanity within. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to hear which character themes hit you the hardest in games or anime, or if you've stumbled across a hidden gem like Tengai Makyou. And if you want to know more about music that hits you right in the feels, check out my book on sentimental music, Heartstring Harmonies. It dives deep into how composers make you actually care about what's happening on the screen.